Okay, it's Thursday afternoon, day and a half before the start of the import race. I'm about to take you on board Team SCA. Sarah, the bow lady, or bowman, is going to give us a quick tour of the boat and let you have a look and see how Team SCA operates.
So we are on Team SCA's Volvo 65, the Volvo Ocean Race Edition 2014-2015. We're starting up here on the bow, that's the pointy end. This is where I am probably half the time, then the other half the time I'm just a bit further back, kind of controlling what goes on up here. So this is basically where we plug every sail in, and it goes up and it comes down. And it's the wettest and roughest part of the boat, so it usually ends up being kind of the young ones that are up here. And as you become more experienced and you get more years under your belt, you actually move further back in the boat, and you may even at some point get to keep your boots dry. Right here we just have, we're packing up for the day. We just went out for a practice race, but we just have all of our sails here. We've got 7 sails on board, and each of the boats are identical. We all have the same everything on board. We have the same lines, we have the same sails, we have the same toilets, we have the same bunks. Everything is the same. Back here we've got, as some of you may know, these are quite high-tech racing machines. Basically like the Formula One of sailing. And we've got dagger boards here that we use when we're going upwind and a few other angles. And they give us lift, and basically because we have a canting keel, the lead bulb underneath our boat, we're able to move from one side to the other for a riding moment. The force of the sails actually pushes us sideways because the keel's no longer there to keep us. So we use the dagger boards to prevent getting pushed to the side. Here is the mast. From the water it's actually 100 feet, and oftentimes the bow person has to go up the rig to do lots of different jobs, so it's important that you're not afraid of heights. And these, under this cover here, you can see these are all of our halyards, and halyards are just lines that lift things up. So they're all connected through the top of the rig down onto the bow, and that's actually what we plug the sails into. Here we just have some rigging. This is responsible for holding the rig up, and if we lose any part of it, we lose the rig. Underneath this really fancy cover here, we've got our mainsail and our boom. Like I said, again, we all have the exact same thing. This edition of the Volvo Ocean Race, these boats are a bit different, just because there's a bit more protection here to try to block just the force of water that comes over, because it's actually really dangerous because we end up going too fast. All the way to the back right now. So we've got 2 different helms, and that's so that we can steer from the windward side of the boat, because we actually get quite a bit of heel going on, sometimes around 25 to 30 degrees of heel. So you can imagine that it's actually quite difficult to live in those conditions, but we have an adjustable platform that raises up, so it makes the person driving feel like they're on a flat surface. Throughout the cockpit here, you can see there's several different types of winches. We've got smaller ones, we've got much bigger ones, and we use those in turn with our pedestals here, with the power of our huge biceps to turn the lines, hoist things, drop things, sheet them on, go faster. So really important pieces of equipment that we also have to maintain all by ourselves, because once you're at sea, there's no one else around to help you. So not only do we have to be good sailors, we have to be engineers, mechanics, electricians, chefs, plumbers, and Yeah, underneath, which you can't really see even if you're down below, is we actually have these giant tanks that we're able to fill with water that also give us riding moments. So we use our stack of sails that we don't have hoisted into the air. We use those on the side for weight. We use our body weight, and we use the water in the tanks to counteract the force that's going into the sails. So this is actually the pit area. It's like a complicated keyboard, and this is where all the things that are plugged in up forward, this is where it's all controlled, going to these various winches. You can see how it could get quite complicated. You have all your halyards, your board controls, your main halyards. You've got your furling lines that come in for some of our sails that actually spin around, and that's how we put them away. We furl them rather than just dropping them and linking them, which is sometimes easier. So down below you can see is pretty Spartan accommodations. The entire boat is made out of carbon fiber, most of it, and we actually don't paint the interior because paint adds weight, and the idea with these boats is that you make them as light as structurally possible. Missing from this point is our galley, our kitchen as you would call it, but it's extremely basic. We have a tap with fresh water, which we make on board through desalinating salt water, and then we have a saltwater tap. So fresh water is very restricted on board because we have to burn fuel to make water. Therefore, there's no showering, there's no excessive freshwater use. You wash everything with salt water, and sometimes you can give it a rinse with fresh water. We even just use a misting spray bottle to rinse off our faces after a wash because it's too much to kind of splash just handfuls of fresh water. And then we use 2 little gas burners to boil water to make our freeze-dried food. And that's about as fancy as our meals get. You can see here, this is where we end up hanging all of our gear. So you don't have like personal space. You end up with a bag that's something around this size. I think it's about 20 liters. So we got 20 liters of space and 12 kilos allowance. And these are our bunks. This is where we sleep. And when you're in your bunk, that's the only personal space that you have. So you kind of just hop in and try to get as much sleep as you can, because we actually work in shifts, 4 hours on, 4 hours off. So in your 4 hours off, you take about an hour between putting your gear on and taking your gear off at the end of your watch. And then, you know, you still need time to eat and to take care of yourself, so that takes a bit of time as well. And as you can see, the space is a bit smaller as we move back. All the mechanics of things up above are down below, and we kind of have to live in and around them. And right here we have one of our most important pieces of kit, which is our nav station. And we have a full-time navigator who sits and sleeps here, watching the weather, doing the routing, getting the updates every 6 hours of where the other boats are. And she gets data all across here, tracking what the wind's doing, the wind angles, speeds, and then we end up getting, you know, updates here saying where people are and who's got email from family, things like that. So we do have opportunities sometimes to communicate with our families, but it's very restricted. It gets read by about 7 people before it makes its way to us, because we can't actually talk about too much of what's going on board, and we can't hear about what's going on board on the other boats as well.